Introduction. Few questions in literary history provoke as much passionate debate as, was William Shakespeare a real person? More accurately, people often mean, was the William Shakespeare from Stratford-upon-Avon the actual author of the plays and poems attributed to Shakespeare? To understand this question, we must untangle two related but distinct issues. 1. Did a man named William Shakespeare really exist? 2. Is the same William Shakespeare the author of the works attributed to him? The short answer, accepted by virtually all professional historians, archivists, and literary scholars, is yes on both accounts. But the long answer is far richer and much more fascinating, involving historical records, Elizabethan theater, surviving manuscripts, business dealings, legal documents, church registers, and socio-political context. This essay explores the entire debate in depth, its origins, evidence, counterclaims, scholarly analysis, and the cultural reasons why Shakespeare's authorship has become a subject for controversy at all. The goal is clarity, comprehensiveness, and fairness to all sides of the discussion, while grounding the conversation in verifiable historical evidence. Part 1. The Historical Shakespeare, the Man from Stratford. 1. The birth and background of William Shakespeare. Birth records. William Shakespeare was baptized on April 26, 1564, in Stratford-upon-Avon, Warwickshire, England. The baptism is recorded in the parish register of Holy Trinity Church. Gulielmus Filius Johannes Shakespeare. William, son of John Shakespeare. Baptism normally occurred a few days after birth. Scholars infer a birth date of April 23, 1564, now celebrated as Shakespeare's birthday. Family background. Shakespeare came from a middle-class family. Father, John Shakespeare, a glover, maker of gloves and leather goods, alderman, and at one point the bailiff, mayor, of Stratford. Mother, Mary Arden, came from a respected landowning family. This was not an illiterate family, nor an aristocratic one, typical of English provincial society. 2. Childhood and education. Shakespeare likely attended the King's New School in Stratford, a rigorous grammar school with free tuition for local boys. The curriculum emphasized Latin grammar, classical authors, Ovid, Seneca, Cicero, Virgil, Plautus, Terence, rhetoric, logic, translations, and composition. Why does this matter? Shakespeare's works show a deep familiarity with classical literature, exactly what such schooling provided. There is no direct attendance record, none, survive for any student, but surviving civic documents prove Shakespeare was eligible, and his father held offices that guaranteed access. 3. Marriage to Anne Hathaway. Shakespeare married Anne Hathaway in 1582. At age 18, Anne was 26 and already pregnant. Their children: Susanna, b. 1583, Hamnet, b. 1585, Judith, b. 1585. Hamnet's twin. Hamnet died at age 11, which may have influenced the emotional tone of plays like Hamlet. Marriage records survive in the Worcester Diocesan Archives. Shakespeare's signature appears on legal bonds supporting the arrangement. 4. The Lost Years. 1578, 1582, and 1585, 1592. Historians call two periods in Shakespeare's life the lost years because few records survive. Theories include teaching, working as a law clerk, traveling with acting companies, apprenticeship in theater work, working in a noble household. By 1592, Shakespeare appears in London as a professional playwright and actor, proven by the famous complaint of Robert Greene, "An upstart crow, beautified with our feathers." This is one of the earliest references to Shakespeare as a writer, documenting his growing success. 5. Shakespeare the actor and shareholder. From the early 1590s onward, Shakespeare became associated with the Lord Strange's men, the Lord Chamberlain's men, later the King's men. Shakespeare was not merely a playwright, he was actor, shareholder in the acting company, shareholder in the Globe Theatre, 1599, shareholder in the Blackfriars Theatre, 1608. This positions him as a working man of the theatre, not a distant literary figure. 6. Later life and retirement. By about 1613, Shakespeare retired to Stratford, having acquired substantial wealth. Documented purchases include New Place, one of Stratford's grandest homes, land holdings, tithes, a long-term investment in local church revenue. Shakespeare died on April 23, 1616, and was buried at Holy Trinity Church. His signed will survives, mentioning his wife, children, and theatrical associates. Part 2. Documentary evidence for Shakespeare's existence. This is crucial for understanding the debate. We possess dozens of independent historical documents referencing William Shakespeare. These include 1 birth and baptism records. Parish register. 2 marriage license bonds. 3 legal documents involving property, debts, and investments. 4 tax records. 5 signatures, 6 surviving. On his will. Legal depositions. Property titles. 6 the First Folio testimonies, 1623. Friends, editors, and fellow actors explicitly name him as the playwright. Ben Jonson wrote, "Sweet Swan of Avon, not a pseudonym, not disguised, Avon, Backwo Stratford upon Avon." 7 payments, performance records, and royal patronage. Shakespeare is listed as William Shakespeare player, William Shakespeare gentleman, Shakespeare poet. These appear in government documents, theater accounts, and stationers' registers. 8 property and business transactions, all recorded under the name William Shakespeare of Stratford. 9 his last will and testament, lists bequests to actors from the King's Men, Richard Burbage, John Heminges, Henry Condell. These were real colleagues, confirming Shakespeare's participation in theater. 10 folio portraits and dedications, published by people who personally knew him. Part 3. Shakespeare, the writer. Evidence of authorship. Many documents connect the Stratford man with the plays. 1 stationers' register entries. Publishers frequently list, written by William Shakespeare. By Shakespeare. Du Shakespeare. These were commercial listings, not inventions. 2 play title pages. Early quartos list Shakespeare by name. Romeo and Juliet, A Midsummer Night's Dream, Much Ado About Nothing, The Merchant of Venice, King Lear, Othello. 3 testimony from Shakespeare's colleagues. Heminges and Condell in the First Folio. We have collected and published the plays of our friend and fellow, William Shakespeare. This is direct eyewitness evidence. 4 testimony from contemporary poets. Multiple writers refer to Shakespeare as a playwright, a poet, a dramatist, a writer from Avon. 5 manuscript variants and revisions. Shakespeare's plays show stages of revision, collaborations with other known playwrights, e.g. Fletcher, practical awareness of acting, staging, and performance. Only a working man of the theater shows this consistent technical know-how. 6 linguistic fingerprinting, stylometric analysis, computer-based analysis of writing style, consistently attributes the plays to the same author. The Stratford man fits because he was in the right place, London theaters, at the right time, 1590-1613, and directly involved in the profession. Part 4. Why the authorship debate exists. The authorship debate is essentially a modern invention, emerging centuries after Shakespeare's death. 1 18th and 19th century Romanticism. People began imagining Shakespeare as a mystically gifted genius. His humble origin seemed incompatible with the extraordinary quality of the works. Thus arose the idea, how could a Glover's son write such great plays? Modern historians reject this romantic assumption as class prejudice. 2 lack of manuscripts. Some people expect that an author like Shakespeare should have left behind original drafts, letters, personal diaries. But almost no playwright of Shakespeare's era left such materials. Paper was recycled. Plays were company property, not personal keepsakes. 3 celebrity myth building. As Shakespeare's fame grew posthumously, a cult of genius formed. People began to imagine that the plays required secret aristocratic knowledge. Only noblemen could understand court life. The true author must be someone more impressive. 4 search for hidden codes and conspiracies. 20th century authorship skeptics often rely on hidden ciphers, alleged secret messages, speculation, retroactively imposed conditions. Shakespeare must have traveled abroad. These are fun but not historically grounded. Part 5. The major alternative candidates. Some people propose other authors. Let's examine them objectively. 1 Francis Bacon, a brilliant philosopher and statesman. Arguments for highly educated, politically connected, some stylistic similarities. Arguments against he had no known connection to the London theatre world. His confirmed writing style differs significantly. No documentary link to the plays. Bacon never claimed them. 2 Edward de Vere, Earl of Oxford. Popular in modern Oxfordian theories. Arguments for aristocratic education, court exposure, poetry skills. Arguments against de Vere died in 1604. Yet plays like The Tempest, Coriolanus, The Winter's Tale, and King Lear were written afterward. The First Folio editors personally knew Shakespeare and called him our friend and fellow, not de Vere. No evidence de Vere ever worked in professional theater. His known writing style is unlike Shakespeare's. 3 Christopher Marlowe, a playwright contemporary with Shakespeare. Arguments for similar time period, high poetic talent, Arguments against. Marlowe died in 1593. Documented coroner's inquest. Many Shakespeare plays were written after 1600. Writing styles diverged substantially. 4. Multiple authors theory. Some believe Shakespeare's works were group collaborations. But while collaboration did occur occasionally, e.g. with Fletcher, it is well documented who collaborated, and Shakespeare's voice is distinct. Part 6. Evidence against authorship conspiracies. Professional historians overwhelmingly reject authorship conspiracies for many reasons. 1. Theatrical culture was public, not secret. Playwrights were known figures. London theatre was tightly regulated. It was impossible to publish anonymously on such a mass scale. 2. Too many witnesses, hundreds of actors. Scribes, printers, theatre owners, and patrons would have had to maintain a lifelong conspiracy. 3. The First Folio evidence is too strong. The Folio's editors, Heminges and Condelware, Shakespeare's long-term colleagues, they had nothing to gain from lying. 4. No contemporary doubters. Not a single contemporary questioned Shakespeare's authorship. Not one letter, diary, or publication from that era suggests a pseudonym. 5. Conspiracy theories rely on absence, not presence. Authorship skeptics typically argue, there are not enough records. The records we want are missing. The lack of evidence is evidence. This is historically unsound. Part 7. Shakespeare's knowledge explained. The belief that Shakespeare needed aristocratic or scholarly experience to write the plays is based on misconceptions. 1. Knowledge of law. Grammar schools taught rhetoric, which heavily used legal examples. 2. Knowledge of court life. Public theatre companies frequently performed for the court. Actors saw court behavior firsthand. 3. Knowledge of foreign lands. Shakespeare rarely describes foreign settings accurately. Julius Caesar contains geographical mistakes. A Midsummer Night's Dream mixes Greek setting with English folklore. The Winter's Tale gives Bohemia a coastline. It has none. This suggests a writer not extensively traveled. 4. Knowledge of medicine, military affairs, or philosophy. Such topics were common in widespread English translations. In other words, Shakespeare's knowledge matches that of a highly educated Elizabethan grammar school student working in the London theatre, exactly who he was. Part 8. The survival of Shakespeare's reputation. During his lifetime, Shakespeare was well respected, but not considered a godlike genius. After his death, 17th-18th centuries, interest in his works grew due to the First Folio, 1623, Restoration and Georgian revivals, 18th century editors, Romanticism, Keats, Coleridge, Goethe. Romantic thinkers created an idealized image of Shakespeare that made his humble background seem implausible. Part 9. Scholarly consensus. Modern Shakespeare scholarship includes archivists, literary critics, paleographers, linguists, historians, stylometric statisticians. All professional evidence-based scholarship supports Shakespeare of Stratford as the author. No university with accredited Renaissance literature programs teaches alternative authorship theories as credible. Part X. Why the debate persists in popular culture. 1. The plays seem too good. People assume genius must come with an extraordinary origin. Shakespeare was extraordinary, yet came from ordinary circumstances. 2. Modern distrust of institutions. Conspiracy thinking thrives in such conditions. 3. Simplified myths in movies and media. Popular novels and films often dramatize the idea of pseudonymous authorship. 4. Human fascination with mystery. Even if the evidence is clear, the mystery is alluring. Part 8. Reconstructing Shakespeare's life through evidence. To give a fuller sense of the historical Shakespeare, let's review all categories of surviving documentary evidence in detail. 1. Birth and family records. Baptism entry. Father's civic records. Mother's family documents. Property holdings. 2. Schooling context. While attendance records don't survive, the school curriculum is fully documented through manuals and regulations from the period. 3. Employment and residency in London. Records show theatre shareholder documents, tax records listing him as a resident of Bishopsgate and later Southwark. Mention in performances for Queen Elizabeth and King James. 4. Publications. Numerous quartos bear his name. Publishers had no incentive to lie. They wanted to sell books. Using a false author would have been illegal. 5. Personal signatures. 6 signatures survive. 3 on his will, 1 on a deposition, 1 on a purchase document, 1 on a mortgage document. All match variations of known Elizabethan spelling. 6. Financial and legal activity. Shakespeare invested heavily. Real estate, grain, theatre shares. This activity is well recorded and consistent with his rising wealth. Part 2. Shakespeare's identity as seen by his peers. Notable contemporaries who explicitly identify Shakespeare as the playwright: Ben Jonson, John Hemingway, Henry Condell, Leonard Digges, Francis Meres, William Camden, Richard Burbage, Thomas Heywood. From Meres Paladis Tamia, 1598. Shakespeare among the English is the most excellent in both comedy and tragedy. This is direct evidence during Shakespeare's lifetime. Part 13. Shakespeare's writing style. Internal evidence. Shakespeare's style shows consistent patterns, iambic pentameter mastery, unique metaphorical density, neologisms, specific syntactic habits, evolution from early to late style. Stylometric analysis confirms. Titus Andronicus resembles early style. Hamlet shows mid-period style. The Tempest shows late style. These align with Shakespeare's lifetime. Chronology, not De Vere's or Marlowe's. Part 14. The conspiracy hypothesis and its flaws. Flaw 1. Requires massive coordinated fraud. Everyone involved in the London theatre industry would need to lie for decades. Flaw 2. False assumptions about authorship. The idea of anonymity for safety is a modern projection. Playwriting wasn't politically dangerous. Flaw 3. The timeline doesn't fit. Most alternative candidates died before the later plays were written. Flaw 4. The simplest explanation is historically correct. Occam's razor. The man named Shakespeare, documented as playwright and actor, wrote the plays. Part 15. Modern forensics and Shakespeare. Stylometrics, corpus linguistics, and digital humanities tools all confirm Shakespeare wrote the bulk of the canon. Some plays involve collaborators, e.g. Fletcher, Middleton. No alternative candidate fits the profile better. Conclusion. Was William Shakespeare a real person? 1. Yes. Extensive historical records prove that. William Shakespeare of Stratford upon Avon lived from 1564 to 1616. Who did he write the plays? Yes. Overwhelming evidence shows he did. Evidence includes documentary records, eyewitness testimony, title pages, legal signatures, financial records, performance history, personal references by contemporaries, linguistic analysis, First Folio endorsements. 3. Why the debate? Mostly due to romantic myths, misunderstandings of Elizabethan education, class prejudice, conspiracy culture, myth-making in modern media. The scholarly consensus is unequivocal. William Shakespeare, the man from Stratford, is the real author of the works attributed to him. No alternative theory provides historical evidence even remotely comparable. Part Phi. The major alternative candidates. Some people propose other authors. Let's examine them objectively. 1. Francis Bacon, a brilliant philosopher and statesman. Arguments for: highly educated, politically connected, some stylistic similarities. Arguments against: he had no known connection to the London theatre world. His confirmed writing style differs significantly. No documentary link to the plays. Bacon never claimed them. 2. Edward de Vere, Earl of Oxford. Popular in modern Oxfordian theories. Arguments for: aristocratic education, court exposure, poetry skills. Arguments against: de Vere died in 1604. Yet plays like The Tempest, Coriolanus, The Winter's Tale, and King Lear were written afterward. The First Folio editors personally knew Shakespeare and called him our friend and fellow, not de Vere. No evidence de Vere ever worked in professional theatre. His known writing style is unlike Shakespeare's. 3. Christopher Marlowe, a playwright contemporary with Shakespeare. Arguments for: similar time period, high poetic talent. Arguments against: Marlowe died in 1593, documented coroner's inquest. Many Shakespeare plays were written after 1600. Writing styles diverge substantially. 4. Multiple authors theory. Some believe Shakespeare's works were group collaborations. But while collaboration did occur occasionally, e.g. with Fletcher, it is well documented who collaborated, and Shakespeare's voice is distinct. Part 6. Evidence against authorship conspiracies. Professional historians overwhelmingly reject authorship conspiracies for many reasons. 1. Theatrical culture was public, not secret. Playwrights were known figures. London theatre was tightly regulated. It was impossible to publish anonymously on such a mass scale. 2. Too many witnesses, hundreds of actors. Scribes, printers, theatre owners, and patrons would have had to maintain a lifelong conspiracy. 3. The First Folio evidence is too strong. The Folio's editors, Hemingway and Condell, were Shakespeare's long-term colleagues. They had nothing to gain from lying. 4. No contemporary doubters. Not a single contemporary questioned Shakespeare's authorship. Not one letter, diary, or publication from that era suggests a pseudonym. 5. Conspiracy theories rely on absence, not presence. Authorship skeptics typically argue, there are not enough records. The records we want are missing. The lack of evidence is evidence. This is historically unsound. Part 7. Shakespeare's knowledge explained. The belief that Shakespeare needed aristocratic or scholarly experience to write the plays is based on misconceptions. 1. Knowledge of law. Grammar schools taught rhetoric, which heavily used legal examples. 2. Knowledge of court life. Public theater companies frequently performed for the court. Actors saw court behavior firsthand. 3. Knowledge of foreign lands. Shakespeare rarely describes foreign settings accurately. Julius Caesar contains geographical mistakes. A Midsummer Night's Dream mixes Greek setting with English folklore. In light of the evidence presented across historical documentation, literary analysis, contemporary testimony, and modern scholarly consensus, the question, was William Shakespeare a real person? Can be answered with clarity and overwhelming confidence. Yet to truly appreciate why this conclusion is not only reasonable but virtually unavoidable, it is worth reflecting on the deeper implications of Shakespeare's identity, both for history and for the human imagination. William Shakespeare's life reminds us that extraordinary genius can emerge from ordinary backgrounds. The Stratford man, born to a glovemaker, did not need aristocratic blood or university degrees to reshape the English language and theater forever. Instead, he drew upon the richness of daily life, the complexities of human emotion, the dynamic world of the London stage, and the vibrant intellectual atmosphere of Renaissance England. These lived experiences, not hidden royal secrets, not coded messages, not clandestine noble conspiracies, form the true foundation of his work. The persistence of authorship. Conspiracies reveals as much about modern society as it does about Shakespeare himself. In an age where institutions are mistrusted, where the extraordinary is assumed to be the product of secret elites, and where hidden meanings feel more exciting than historical truth, the Shakespeare didn't write Shakespeare theory has an irresistible allure. It offers the thrill of solving an imagined mystery, even when no real historical puzzle exists. But history is not built on fantasies. It rests on records, testimonies, documents, and the practical realities of life in the Elizabethan world. By these standards, the authorship question is not a mystery at all. Moreover, Shakespeare's collaborators, publishers, actors, and friends had no reason to participate in a conspiracy. Their livelihoods depended on accuracy, reputation, and maintaining the integrity of their theatrical enterprises. If a wealthy nobleman or secret author had been behind the works, someone, with so many people involved, would certainly have mentioned it. Yet no one did. Not a single contemporary source hints at an alternative author. Instead, contemporaries repeatedly and explicitly praise Shakespeare himself as a playwright, as an actor, and as a man of Avon. The idea that Shakespeare could not have written the plays because he was not formally educated misunderstands the nature of learning in his time. Elizabethan grammar schools were rigorous, far more demanding in Latin, rhetoric, and classical literature than many modern university programs. Shakespeare received an education perfectly suited for playwriting. Add to that over 2 decades of practical work in the theater, revising scripts, acting them out, adjusting them for performance, and we see a portrait of a writer who honed his craft through daily practice, not academic abstraction. When we accept Shakespeare as the true author of his works, we gain not only historical accuracy but something more profound, a renewed appreciation for the power of human creativity. Shakespeare's background shows that great art is not reserved for the privileged, nor does it require a pedigree of aristocracy. Creativity arises wherever imagination, discipline, and opportunity meet. It is democratic. It is accessible. It belongs to the world. What makes Shakespeare truly remarkable is not that he solved impossible mysteries or lived a life of secret grandeur. It is that he observed the human heart with unparalleled depth and compassion. His plays endure because he understood people, their ambitions, fears, desires, flaws, and dreams. From kings to fools, lovers to tyrants, scholars to jesters, his characters resonate across centuries because they mirror us. And the man who created them needed no disguise, no pseudonym, and no secrets. His identity is written plainly across the historical record, just as his insight is written plainly across his plays. Accepting Shakespeare as the genuine author also restores meaning to the communities and individuals who surrounded him, the actors who performed his work, the playhouses that staged his creations, the London audiences who shaped his storytelling, and the family who lived with him through triumph and tragedy. These real people, preserved in a web of documents and memories, anchor Shakespeare's legacy in the tangible world. They are part of his story, and denying Shakespeare's authorship erases them as well. In the end, Shakespeare does not need to be a mystery to be great. His genius does not require a veil. The truth that a keenly observant, hard-working, ambitious playwright rose from modest origins to global literary immortality is already extraordinary. It is a testament to human potential, creativity, and the enduring power of art. Therefore, the conclusion stands stronger than ever. William Shakespeare was absolutely a real person, and he truly was the author of the plays and poems that bear his name.